Hi everyone, this is Carlos Guante. So I wanted to do this video. I've been on when I work online. I actually on when I work at night. I just put on movies while I'm working, and sometimes I just go through YouTube and see what YouTube has put in my viewer. They give me suggestions, and I look through to see what's on there on my homepage, and I see a lot of a discussion, about Prometheus and some of the movies I've worked on. They're all fun to watch. I mean, people make up a lot of stuff, uh, and it's fun. I mean, most of it is just people making stuff up. Um, and they read a lot in, and I love it all. Don't get me wrong, I love it all, but I mean, most of the stuff with the creature stuff, with the creature work is very made up, and none of it is really right. But everyone speaks with a lot of authority, and they have, uh, you know, they talk like radio show hosts, so they have, you believe everything they say, kind of a thing. Anyway, so I decided to do this little, just quick walkthrough of the creatures that were in the movies Prometheus and Covenant, the two movies I worked on. Designing the creatures to give some order to everything, because I heard people making stuff up, trying to give order to everything, and they're acting as if they really knew what was going on, and they don't, you know. So let's just go through it. This is going to be really quick. It's going to take about maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Um, so this particular creature that I have here in my portfolio cover uh, was actually for the five-field infection scene in Prometheus, um, and it was I actually never turned this in, um, even though people have seen it. I never turned it in because by that time the beluga had been uh, cut out of the film. So um, this was at the very end, this particular design. So let's start with the Deacon. Okay, so the Deacon was originally an idea for an alien that would come out of a human. The script actually had um, Xenomorphs, and there were guys armed, and they were, shooting. It was very much like any of the other aliens films that you have that have come out already, and it was just a shoot 'em up, bang bang uh, script. Um, I didn't like it, and when I went to meet with Ridley, it was, and he just laid it out for 2 days, just told me the story, because he knew it. There was no script yet, but he just sat there and told me the entire his idea for the story, and it's 2 days, and I just sat there and I took notes and we talked about everything, and it was a completely different than the script that I read. So, but that being said, I there was still a character in there that was going to come out of a person in the version that he was telling me as it was changing, right? The thing evolved, I mean, from an alien type of movie to Prometheus as we were working on it. So, that being said, there was a creature in there that was supposed to come out of either Fifield or um, one of the other guys, um, and it. I wanted it to not have any of the biomechanical stuff, so I wanted it to be more like this, like uh, um, this very first one. These other two were me trying to add the biomechanical kind of filigree subtly as we got into Covenant. Okay, so that's what these were for. But the Deacon is not called a belugamorph. And I've seen people try to complicate the entire setup for all the creatures. It's not that complicated. It's the Deacon. This is the Deacon. Now, what they did with it at the end of the film, and they changed it to that blue Muppet thing that was at the end. That wasn't my design for the creature. This was supposed to be the Deacon here, right here. Same thing that came out of the engineer at the end, but it got the character got pushed around and turned into something else. So um, you can't really say look at these designs and look at the film and try to place them in there because they were all mushed around and put in areas where they actually weren't originally designed to be. So, yeah. So, just to be clear, there is no such thing as a beluga morph. Um, there is the Deacon, which is what this is. This was designed, and the reason it was called the Deacon is because Ridley originally called him the Bishop because of this pontiff hat thing here, and because there's a character named Bishop, he renamed him the Deacon. You know, and we joked about that. You've probably read where we joked about that. I talked about it. Um, because I felt like he was demoted from a bishop to a deacon. Anyway, so that's where this character comes from. He is the Deacon. Okay? Uh, Same as that blue thing that came out of the engineer at the end of Prometheus, which I really did not like because it didn't, it didn't have any of the ghostly quality that I wanted for these characters. It just looked like it was made out of rubber. I mean, and I'm not talking that it was a practical thing. It just looked like it had no joints. It was just, and I'm not trying to rip on anyone's work, mind you. I'm a character designer, so I'm looking at the way that all the characters work together. I'm standing back and looking at the entire painting, and I had an idea for all the characters and how they would work, right? And the progression of things, right? So you would start with something that didn't have anything to do with, say, a biomechanical looking alien, which was the Xenomorph, right, in the first film. A lot of people call him the Big Chap because Ridley called it that in the first, as he walked around and he just called it the Big Chap, but it's a Xenomorph. And it, you know, all that biomechanical beauty and all that we love, we wanted to get there, but we had to get there from another place. And I wanted to design that place so that way that thing would still remain special, the very first film. And we wouldn't water it down with all these things that looked even, more biomechanical and more, fantastic in that they were, you know, they were becoming stars in themselves, and they would take away from that creature. Uh, you have to design and restrain yourself and design things to come to, right? So, um, and that's what I was trying to do here. I was trying to subdue all that the cool biomechanical stuff, and have it look more like a man. And in a way, I mean, it would have been its own coolness, because it would have been, you know, uh, it wouldn't have been that it would have been something else, so that you wouldn't compare them. You would just like it for what it is, and then you would be able to make the jump, as you saw the movie, to what would become the Giger's beautiful Xenomorph and all the beautiful work that he did in that first film, um, which also I was trying to hold on to, but and I that was one of my jobs, is to try to police all of the artwork for the creatures, and I took it very seriously. Um, but of course I wasn't allowed to work on the film past just doing drawings, which is very frustrating for me. Because I like to work on stuff and I like to get my hands in there and make it. But you know, Hollywood is very, very, you know, I don't know if it's an old world kind of union thing that's still there, even though there's no union. Well, there is unions, but where they just separate everybody. You can't pick up that hammer if you don't have you're not part of that union, so you can't pick up a hammer to make your own armature if you work in an art department on the studio lot. You know, everyone gets all weird. You know what I mean, about stuff. So I don't know if some of that is in there. That, but I would love to have crossed over and continued on in the film, and most of the movies that I work on. And but I've been fighting this fight for 30 years, and I'm getting a little tired of trying. So, um, yeah. Anyway, so this is the Deacon, okay? Not a beluga morph. There's no such thing as a beluga morph. So the only other creature besides this would be the Neomorphs, okay? And let's take a look at some of them. Now I'm going to jump over here to, let's see, to this guy. This is the very first Neomorph I did, right? And it's a sculpture that I photographed and just scratched over really quick in Photoshop. Uh, and this is closer to what the actual sculpture looked like. And then I pulled the mouth out to see what that would look like. Again, I was trying for something that wasn't, that didn't look and would be compared um, to the first Alien in Alien, the first movie, but still had some of the aspects, some of that, like, there's ribbon going on here. It's got, a shadow of things to come. This little, shoulder loop, things like that. Some of this kind of, a suggestion of the biomechanical stuff. I mean, but then you look at animals today, some of the deep sea stuff, and they have all this kind of order to, their structure. So thinking about that, and you can see a lot of that here. Implying the stacks that would eventually be on the alien creature. So coming back here, these are all the variations. These are neomorphs, right? Ideas for the neomorph. Uh, so no beluga morph, right? Just the Deacon and the neomorph. That's it. I mean, things get really, really complicated out there. There is nothing else, I'm telling you. No matter how many videos are out there that are talking about all these different creatures, which is fun, but none of it is actually true. This is all there was beluga. I mean, which is the which is the Deacon. This the neomorph, which these are all ideas for the neomorph. Anything that wasn't the Deacon is a neomorph. Okay. Uh, the Deacon is a kind of a neomorph in itself, right? But Ridley named it the Deacon and then did something unique with it where it came out of an engineer and we never saw what happened with that thing, right? So, and I don't know if he has plans for that at all, So, you know, but anyway, so here you go. These are all, there's the Deacon and these neomorphs. That's it. The only other creature, now this is the one that was supposed to come out of the engineer, right? Was the Ultramorph. The Ultramorph was the one that was supposed to come out, and that would be the first time that we start seeing this biomechanical kind of, the Xenomorph, the first Alien stuff come, all that filigree. And I went with, this is one effort that I tried with the original Giger's, Necronomicon image that he did. And I thought it should be the first one that we see because good homage to Giger, keeping Giger right in the first film. So the Deacon in the first film would come out and be the alien that everyone dealt with during the film, and then we see this thing come out from that trog, that tentacle thing that comes out of Shaw, and it implants the first egg ever implanted, we see, and it comes out of the engineer, and it's this giant that looks like a xenomorph. And so now this thing, what this thing attacks, right? And now that they plant, and this was my idea, is that they pass on their genes too, when they attack, maybe in their saliva or something. So when they, you know, when they attack someone and they're, the people are made immobile by by their attack, and they're injured and not dead yet, you know, and uh, when the this alien creature, whatever kind of alien, they bite them, they would also pass on genes. So it's not only the egg that would when the face hugger comes on, it implants the embryo, but it's not necessarily an embryo uh, being implanted. Maybe I was thinking that it could be that whatever it implants mixes with whatever um, the alien has passed on with its own saliva, so there would be a mix happening there, and then that's how these things would pass on whatever they were, the alien, anyway. So, I mean, that's just me making stuff up there. That was just an idea, okay? So, so now we have the Deacon, the Neomorph, and the Ultramorph. Oh, that's it, okay? And now I'm going to add one more, and the Beluga head. Now, people try to call the Beluga head and think that the baby head is different. They're not. They're the same. The Beluga is the baby head because it looks like a giant baby head. Look at that. That was the idea. Um, so it looks benign. It has this weird kind of beluga head in that it's white, which was the idea for all these aliens in the first film. And that's why the engineers ended up being white, and then really tied it to the marble statues, the sculpture of David, which I thought was pretty cool, in theory. But in application, I thought they needed to be a little bit more fantastic, but that's just me talking. So, uh, so now we have the Deacon, the Neomorph, the Ultramorph, and the Beluga, which is also the baby head. There is no Beluga morph. There's no such thing. The Beluga head and the baby head are the same creature. So this was supposed to come out of, what was his name? With Fifield and I think it was Hallett. No, it wasn't Hallett. It was, maybe it was. Anyway, the other guy. And the idea was that this thing was actually created in the caves. In the version of the script that we were working on, they couldn't take their helmets off. In where these two guys are, um, the one gets killed by the snake, uh, and the other one runs off after he sees what happened, and he notices that there's all this dust, uh, landing on his helmet, the face of his helmet, right? And so he rubs it, and all those little dust things that are little creatures, and they all have acid in their blood. And when he does that, he crushes them, and it starts to burn a hole in the glass of his helmet, the face of his helmet, and the pressure. It's like if he were down like a mile or two in the ocean. He gets sucked out and he liquefied, and his genetic liquid material is literally floating, and all these little dust creatures that were killed, all of them mix with his genetic material in the air, and this creature starts to form out of it and becomes the baby head. That was the idea. So there you go. So you have the Deacon, the Neomorph, the Ultramorph, and the Beluga head. There is nothing else. Now, what did I name there? So you got the Deacon, no Beluga head. I mean, there's no Beluga morph. There's no such thing. There's the Deacon, there's the Neomorph, the Ultramorph, and the Beluga head, which is also the baby head. There's only 4 creatures, right? There you go. Just trying to clear all this up because as much as I enjoy it, I can hear people getting all frustrated and not knowing how to put the artwork with the film in. When you try to do that, you're gonna end up in a bad place because they don't always use the artwork or the intended artwork for the characters that you see in the film. They look very different. So then everyone gets confused and doesn't know what the heck is going on. And they never really did a proper art of book for Prometheus or Covenant. They always do these art of books, and they put all of the film clips in there. And really, who cares? Why would I want to look at a movie with, I mean, a book with movie clips in it? I can go and look at the movie, which is what it was intended. Those are, it's intended to be moving, all these little clips. Why do I want to look at a clip? I can go and see the film. They should put all the artwork in there and then put a lot of narrative, and so people can tell, and put, things together, and they can see the way a movie is actually done. It's fun, it's fun stuff, but they don't do that. Um, anyway, there it is. Hope you guys like that, and I may do another one, depending on you know how this is, how you guys react to this. Okay, bye.